My obscenely wealthy, arrogant luxury client slammed a massive carved mahogany front door directly in my face and coldly sneered, "You are nothing more than an overpaid, grease-stained pipe fitter. You will not see a single penny of your $10,000 plumbing overhaul fee because your work is worthless, and you can take your tools and get off my property before I call the police." He delivered this deeply calculated, venomous ultimatum with a predatory smirk, perfectly playing the part of the untouchable corporate elite. Standing right beside him in a flawless custom-tailored designer tuxedo, I wore my standard, faded canvas work apron and scuffed steel-toe boots, a stark, visual contrast symbolizing the massive, unbridgeable power gap between the man who owned the mansion and the handyman he had just decided to rob. That moment set the tone for an agonizing, deeply humiliating campaign of financial marginalization. Throughout the entire massive plumbing overhaul, my client and his sycophantic guests treated me like an invisible nuisance. Whenever he hurled a fresh insult or threatened to withhold my payment for minor timeline adjustments, his inner circle of wealthy socialites never looked up from their smartphones, smirking into their champagne glasses while participating entirely in my public degradation. I was the designated pariah, forced to work in suffocating, cramped crawl spaces while they laughed just out of earshot. But the true cruelty wasn't just his verbal abuse. It was his calculated, premeditated theft of my labor. He had systematically planned from day one to withhold my $10,000 invoice, banking on the arrogant assumption that a blue-collar worker could never afford the legal fees to fight a wealthy homeowner. Whenever I paused my tools to present the signed contract, my client would aggressively march into the basement, toss a mocking gag gift notice of contract dispute onto my workbench, and demand I finish the job. He was actively trying to force me to surrender my wages, using his tyrannical authority to ensure I remained isolated, exploited, and completely powerless against his financial scam. I did not argue with his insults, nor did I react to his humiliating threats. I simply swallowed my rage, gave him a cold, obedient nod, and buried myself deeper into the grueling, brutal technical labor of tying into the mansion's main sewage line. What my wealthy client completely failed to realize, what none of the high society elites understood because they were entirely too blinded by their own unearned arrogance, was that I had not been a standard residential handyman for over a decade. Over the past 10 years of working brutal, bone-crushing shifts across the city, I had quietly built a hidden second life. I spent my nights studying fluid dynamics, advanced chemical binding agents, and hydraulic pressure tolerances, quietly mastering specialized engineering techniques that gave me absolute control over closed-system plumbing networks. While he was busy planning his multi-thousand-dollar high-society gala to flaunt his stolen wealth, I was secretly fabricating a precision-engineered, slow-dissolving, structural sugar plug, calibrated to erode under exact water pressure over a precise 72-hour window. I was playing the part of the obedient, cheated worker, while secretly positioning myself with the exact technical power needed to completely shatter his pristine world. The trap snapped violently shut the exact moment his elite, black-tie charity gala reached its peak attendance inside the sprawling, brightly lit mansion. I had carefully installed the compressed sugar plug deep inside the main residential sewage stack during the final hours of the overhaul. Timing its chemical erosion rate to match the exact hour, hundreds of high society guests began utilizing the home's plumbing system simultaneously. The horrifying, deeply catastrophic reality instantly struck the gala in a wave of total chaos. As my client stood at the center of the grand ballroom, delivering an arrogant toast to his wealthy peers, the main sewage line finally reached its hydraulic breaking point. The structural sugar plug instantly dissolved under the massive surge of wastewater, sending a towering, pressurized geyser of raw sewage backing up through every single toilet, sink, and shower in the mansion, flooding the designer carpets and ruining the luxury event in seconds. My client's face completely drained of all color, going stark white as a sheet, and his voice cracked in absolute, breathless panic as his terrified guests screamed and fled the flooded estate in designer evening wear. Without a word, I stood across the street in the shadows, pulling my encrypted diagnostic tablet from my canvas bag to watch his multi-million-dollar social empire literally drown in its own filth. I didn't yell, I didn't gloat, and I didn't answer his frantic, ruined phone calls screaming for emergency plumbing repairs. I calmly packed up my specialized diagnostic gear, walked to my work truck into the quiet night air, and returned the next morning to my quiet life of wearing my apron and opening my workshop. Watching a thief lose his dignity over a dissolved sugar plug was the ultimate vindication. But I have to ask you, was I wrong for engineering a delayed sewage backup to collect my $10,000 in property damage costs? Or did he entirely deserve to have his high society gala ruined for trying to rob a blue-collar worker? Drop your verdict in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe.